So I completed my first Zwift race tonight, and I haven't done one of these in a long time. So pretty pleased with tonight's results. It wasn't a podium finish, but for me, it felt like a podium finish. I gave it a sprint at the end using my power up and had useful guidance from hubby all the way throughout the race as well. Found a little gang along the way and was really impressed with what I could sustain this evening. My legs were screaming at points going on the hillier bits, but I'm not a great climber, but I definitely noticed that I've got the power there in my legs to keep digging deep, and I really needed to do that in some parts. Yeah, really enjoyed that. I've really missed being like part of a pack in a race. So after like training for 12 weeks on your own, although you're virtually amongst other people, it's not quite the same community competitive feel. But really pleased to have done tonight's race. I managed to stay with the front pack for a little while, a couple of K at least, and I felt inside that I was potentially going to blow up if I carried on, and as soon as we hit the hills, I just knew that I needed to just peel off a little bit. But thankfully there was a pack and a group that I could stick with, and we picked a few people up along the way. It was pretty tough up these climbs, but we made it, even though the legs were screaming at the end. But hubby reminded me that everybody else will be suffering at the same time, which you can easily forget because you're so focused on where you are at that present time. So then we hit some downhills and rollers. I quite like the rollers. It was really nice once we got to the flatter and downhill bits, because what goes up must come down. I always tell myself that. It kind of gets me up the hills half the time. But it was a nice spot to gain some recovery in the legs, reduce my heart rate, and just stick with the pack and draft, because drafting is a real thing in the virtual world. Really enjoyed the race, liked the pace of the group that I was in, and loved that I could stick with them pretty much going up the climbs as well. So it was quite clear that we were quite a similar group in terms of ability out there, and we pretty much stuck together now until the end of the race. So there was a few little kickers towards the end. I knew that in the last 2K, I just needed to draft as much as possible in the pack, see if I could have some pace in my legs to try and at least do a sprint finish. I still had my feather towards the end, and I was aiming to keep this power up until the very end. There was a few little kickers that hubby was talking me through, and he said to press the power up with 400 meters to go, to which point I asked him, does the power up last for 400 meters? But of course it all depends on how long that 400 meters takes you to cycle. And so I pressed the power up and gave it everything I could towards the end, and really pleased to have finished in the 30s, well above the 50% of the field that turned up to race this evening. Mega chuffed, got my 20-minute 2.0 watts per kilo and an average of 183 watts for the whole duration of the race, which I am mega chuffed with. So really pleased with tonight's race. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Any comments, just drop them below. Cheers.